Welcome back, gang. I'm going to carry on here with the chronology. I left off 1975, talking about my earliest experiences with mail order. I'm doing this pretty much fresh out of bed, but when I woke up, I don't know, it just instantly popped into my brain to sit down and continue with this portion of the chronology. I do have some notes here that I will continue to refer to throughout the video. A little bit more to say about 1975, I suppose. I didn't quite give it its due. But in 1975, a new grocery store opened up in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and they had comic books in there. I really primarily bought all my comics from around, I guess, 72, when we came to Pennsylvania, up through 75 at a place, a bookstore it was, a bookstore called the Plaza Shop. And that's what I call my comic shop. When you hear me say my comic shop, what I mean is the Plaza Shop, which again was a bookstore. And when you walked in, the comic books were immediately to the left. And they sat low in this little shelving unit. And above them on the next level, kind of chest level, were a bunch of comic-related magazines, I suppose you'd say, like Creepy and Eerie, and those great horror magazines from Eerie Publications. That's where they began to put the Treasury books up, you know, that kind of thing. And in the supermarket, which is still called Giant Supermarket. In 1975 was where I first saw the new X-Men. I vividly remember seeing Giant Size X-Men #1 on the rack there at the grocery store. I didn't buy it, but I do vividly recall seeing it, and along with the X-Men books that were to follow. And it's funny, I don't have any memories of the X-Men at the Plaza Shop. I don't know if they simply didn't carry the book, or if I was just overlooking it, or I couldn't possibly tell you, but I really don't remember seeing the X-Men at the Plaza Shop. Anyway, back to 75 and my first experiences with mail order. In the last video, I spoke about Don's Book Vault, and the first two books that I bought via mail order were Submariner 29 and 30. My next orders actually did continue with Submariner, and I remember specific issues that I bought over a couple of orders. It was Submariner 27, 28, 31, 33, 36, and 37. And there were a couple of more. I got up into, I think, 39, 40, 41, 42 maybe, I think was about the last subby that I bought as back issues. From kind of then on, I was buying them off the rack. But I definitely remember those books, and again, I was paying all of 35 cents a piece for them. And an interesting note about the mail order, I had lost control about how well centered they were, and as I've mentioned before a few times, I was already, as a little boy, searching out the best centered copies off the rack that I could find. I always loved the bullseye centering, staples, pump, right on that little black line. And if I couldn't find that kind of perfection, I would look for that little bit of the exposure of the white along the spine. As long as that little white strip was nicely centered, that would suit me fine. I began to tighten up that criteria in later years, but we'll talk about that down the line. I will mention too that even though it took an eternity to get the books back via mail order, 4 to 6 weeks, it took a long time to get the books back. And of course, in those days, you had to list alternate choices in case your books were had already been sold. And oftentimes I would get my alternate choices. I actually remember when I started buying back issue Batman books around the time, I would very often get my alternate choices. I remember getting Batman books like number 210, number 228, 230, 231, and a couple of those even were alternate choices. And I should say, too, the point I was just trying to make was that the packages that I would receive, which were like Christmas morning, by the way, as you can imagine for a 10-year-old kid, 11-year-old kid, to get these packages in the mail, it was just extraordinary. From what I remember, in my memory, they were very well packaged. They weren't just shoved into a manila envelope and shipped out. They, even though the books were arriving unbagged and unboarded, they were still sandwiched very nicely between two hard cardboard pieces, and I don't ever recall having an issue with the quality of the packaging. And that's worth noting. In the next video, I will get into some of the more interesting titles that I began to order. I started getting into Neil Adams, ordering back issues of the Neil Adams books, like Batman and the X-Men. Oh, Lord. Those X-Men issues were, I coveted them. I lusted after those books. And also the original Silver Surfer run, number 1 through 18. But I will get into all of that in the next video. And we'll get into 1976, and I'll give you a nice tease about that. 1976 was another year where everything just changed, because guess what? I met my first comic book dealer at a place called the Silver Springs Flea Market, which operated on Sundays down in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. And when I walked up to those long tables just full of literally thousands of comic books and those incredible 3 for $1 bargain bins. Oh my goodness, my friends. Just wait till I get into all that. And again, that continued the huge changes in my collecting habits. I was really getting away from buying books off the rack, and my meager income was shifting to those back issues. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So we'll talk a bit more about some more mail order experiences and get into 1976 in the next video. Oh yes, and Howard the Duck. That's to come also. So thanks for watching. Actually, it just occurs to me right now that I didn't bring out even a single book to show you, but forgive me. Like I say, I just climbed out of bed and came right down here in front of this camera. So I'll give y'all a double dose of books in the next video to make up for my oversight here. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.